Today, I'm going to teach you how to become utterly magnetic and charismatic in order to attract the things you desire most in your life. Oftentimes, we see a very attractive person or a very intelligent person, or they are successful, but they don't have the proper energy. People don't naturally come to them because even though they have these things, they seem very plain. And oftentimes you see someone who's unattractive, but they seem to get a lot of friends or a lot of partners, or they get wealth very easily, even though they are conventionally more plain. This is because some people, everyone actually, has a different aura and a different energy. This energy is literally a amalgamation of their mindset, their mental state, and their mental beliefs projected. So it's not even purely about appearance, it's deeply rooted in a lot of psychological and spiritual factors. So when we see someone, the first thing we notice, it goes to the subconscious. These cues are not on a conscious level. For example, although we may not comprehend something, we may see small symbols. For example, someone who's exuding wealth, we might say that they have an energy which gives off that they're wealthy, but it's not because they're wearing big designer logos or because they, are shouting it. It comes very quietly. For instance, we may see that they're very fit, they're very quiet, but they're generous, something like this. The main thing you need to understand to become magnetic is to utilize what you already have, having a good foundation, a good base, and understanding how to utilize it. For example, by looking at who you are as an individual, you could see what stereotypes you could fall into and how you could utilize or amplify those effects rather than going into the complete opposite of your inherent image. For example, if you're tall and skinny with dark features, you might want to go for a softer look personally, but really going for a more seductive look would be much more efficient in manifesting what you want. The second thing is rewiring your beliefs and what you want to be perceived as. If you want others to perceive you, you have to be in that energy. You have to be open energetically and mentally to communicating with other people. You have to say, I like people, I have a good relationship with people, even if it's not true, and I'm open to receiving abundance from other people, and I want to communicate with people, because people can immediately feel what you really think about them. Even if they're not like a psychologist or like a psychic, you can always tell these things based on the energy. If someone's slouching, if someone's very moody, if someone's closed off, even if they have no bad intentions, you can feel it in their energy, in their presence, that they are very insecure, even if they're an okay person. And people are not, they're just extremely repulsed by this. The first thing you want to do in order, if you want to curate an image and become magnetic, is to define what you want, what kind of image you want, which just can fluctuate with time. But for instance, if you want to have a seductive aura that magnetizes things too, which doesn't mean you're trying to sleep with everyone, it just means you want to be in that energy where you seduce things. You don't chase, but you attract. You want that receiving energy. You would want to focus on saying things like, I effortlessly receive abundance. I am open to receiving abundance. People are drawn to me. I know the power I am and what I hold. Things like that. And you would want to do this in the sense of how you view yourself, but also in how others perceive you. Because we may have a strong, wealthy aura, but people may be too intimidated, so they don't approach you and offer you financial abundance because you're closed off. So you may appear wealthy and you have that energy, but you can't materialize it into the 3D plane of existence. You need to also understand that the world is external and internal, and everything you believe about yourself and others becomes true. If you assume everyone around you is a piece of shit, they will act that way because the law of assumption stays that way, which I wouldn't purely go off the beliefs of the law of attraction or the law of assumption or even the law of vibration, because all of these laws are synchronous with the universe, and it may apply in different situations. So that's why you're saying, well, law of attraction works in some ways but not in others, because all of these laws make up the combination of the universe. So we have to find where the blockages lie. You're not manifesting certain things because you have a blockage in the area. And yes, you can say, I don't have any blockages, and that itself assuming you have too many blockages is also a limiting belief and a blockage, which hinders you from manifesting. But if you are very not self-aware about what limiting beliefs you have, for example, if people offer you money, but you always say no, 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 you may see you don't receive a decent salary even though you work hard. Because when the universe offers you small things, you have to always say yes. Of course, there's like a balance of, taking and not giving too much. But people with this type of belief, they often may have people-pleasing tendencies or issues with boundaries. And that's why they get punished, because they're not learning their lesson. So oftentimes when we see someone too altruistic, there's an element of almost perceptual and constant self-sabotage. You want to break this cycle. You may ask, how do I break the cycle? Well, you have to go in a state of meditation or in writing, and you want to actualize this belief. You want to say that it exists. You want it to be physically said or addressed. And then you say, instead, I address this as an issue, but I want to fix this into this second belief. For example, instead of saying, I want to please everyone, and I have this like people-pleasing tendency, you say, I know I have a people-pleasing tendency rooted, for example, from my childhood, because I'd only get love if I give too much to others. You have to say, well, is this really love, or is this manipulation or love bombing? Then you say, I am free to love people unconditionally, and I'm open to receiving anything, and my energy is not to be used or manipulated by other people, and I energetically cut all cords of people who want to use this energy. This is the main thing, because limiting beliefs lie in insecurity and weakness, and it weakens our aura and our mental state, and so it hinders us from manifesting. And then the next thing you want to do is have like a goal. Like, for example, you want to write down what kind of lifestyle you want for this energy, how you want to be perceived. For example, if you want to be the girl next door who's very soft, you want to do things that emulate that lifestyle, and not necessarily act in a character, but take steps to go into that. For example, if the aspect of the girl next door is that you like is someone who's very kind, very generous, you'd want to do things that mirror that. You want to help people out. You like the kind aspect of that, or you resonate with that image. Because if a certain image is something you desire, but it's not going the way you want it to, it's because, although it may match your appearance, there is a distinction from your energy, so your frequency, your vibration, and how you physically look. Like, if there's too drastic of a distinction, it will look very unnatural, very fake, and people will tell you're not being genuine, and it will seem like it's very artificial. You don't want to look artificial. I would say when you want to make a change and you start adapting beliefs that aren't your own, that's not artificial, nor is it lying. It is simply a state of transition into goals and steps you want to take to materialize into the certain frequency, So by doing this, you're changing, you're adapting, and you will eventually become that. There's no falsity in that. For instance, if you say, I love reading books when you can't stand them, but you actually start reading day by day, you will eventually enjoy that. There's no lie in that. It's just something you want. But if you say I read this book, it's false. There's a distinction between that. So the next step in being magnetic is fake it till you make it with your confidence. This is super cliche, I know, but like, no one wakes up being confident unless everyone validates them. But the Pygmalion effect basically states that once you start validating yourself, other people will validate you, which then creates this cycle of you validating yourself. Because your self-concept is rooted in yourself, but also not how others perceive you. Even if you don't really enjoy that factor, it is a fact. But it first starts within yourself and practical changes. But if you see that people are constantly toxic and there's no issue with you, which there always to some extent is, because you are your situation, your external environment is a projection of your internal one, you should think about, maybe this region isn't on the highest frequency. This environment isn't meant for me. But in general, treating people nicely, treating them how you'd want to be treated. For example, if you feel, I feel really socially isolated, go to the grocery store and start talking to random people, like, and being like, hi, how are you? People like that. And then remember small details about people. People really they enjoy being heard. They enjoy hearing details about them. For example, I go to the grocery store, I go to like the mall, I go everywhere. Everyone remembers me and they offer me like good opportunities and things because they remember how I treated them. Even if for you it's a small encounter, for someone it can make their day. Being a nice person, but of course without this extreme altruistic behavior that like self-sabotages, you can manifest what you want. You can manifest being naturally likable. You can't become someone though. Some people do it effortlessly because it matches with their energetic frequency. Oftentimes a lot of these effortless behaviors are learned psychology or they're years of practice socializing. But if you're like, I don't want to make any changes, I'm too scared. I used to have the worst social anxiety, didn't talk to anyone for like 2 years, was basically mute. And then the only thing that fixed it was exposure therapy. Like, I'm sorry, you have no other choice. That's how you need to build it up. Socialization is a muscle. Even if you are introverted and you don't really enjoy talking to people, it is a way to make money. It is a way to get virtually any solution to your problems, resources. It is unfortunately a fact of life. You have no choice but to address it. So you should, instead of seeing the negatives in this, you should utilize it. See it like a game and see what steps you could do on an analytical level in order to get the best stats, have the best charisma, the best energy, the best material funding, and try new things out. Because one day you may feel stuck with your image. The thing you have to do is gradually try new things in order to see what works best for you and what techniques work with you. And keep in mind that when you want to be charismatic with certain people, you have to keep in mind your target audience. You're not going to talk to a nun versus someone in a band the same way. It's not that you're lying about these aspects. You have to be very knowledgeable. You have to have a wide variety of people you talk to and have a wide understanding of different circles. You shouldn't have this inherent judgment, which it can be from, biases and limiting beliefs, but you should address that. Not everyone fits their stereotypes, and you have to be open to learning information from every demographic of people. And saying, I will only talk to these people, that is extremely shitty of you. You have to understand that everyone has a story. You don't necessarily have to be so emotionally invested to the point where it self-sabotages and burns you out, because that's like very common with a lot of empathetic people. But you have to feel empathy for every person. You have to see the reasoning behind why would they do this? Why? How do they feel about this? How do you feel about this? What situations made them this way? But this does not equate allowing people to do shitty things to you and other people. But there has to be this balance between understanding that people do bad things, you do bad things, and everyone has a different life and different goals. You shouldn't enable anyone, but you should see the reasoning behind everything, because it allows you to have a greater level of mental clarity and mental peace within yourself. Because once you let go of that judgment, when you let go of that pain, it allows you to see the world in a much more lighter view that allows you to progress for yourself and for others. And people will see that within you, and you will gain this inner wisdom, which will be charismatic to people. Of course, if you want to be charismatic in different scenes, that is true. But when you achieve a certain level, you will seem charismatic for everyone, because you can resonate to them. You can show that you have different aspects, different knowledge of different amplitudes that resonate with different people. So you can speak to everyone's soul on a different level. This is how you become charismatic, magnetic, and manifest things easier in your life. Keep in mind that there are different target audiences and stuff, but utilize your own energy, find what works best, and then, bye.